Good afternoon. I'm Raymond Robokowski with the City of Milwaukee Police Department. I've been involved with the Homicide Review Commission since 2006. I participate in the criminal justice portion, the community portion, and on occasion the domestic violence review portion. The importance of the Homicide Review Commission is collaboration and information sharing. As individual departments, we have a lot of dedicated and important information that without a commission like this is not being shared. And this goes statewide and also through other community departments. If you don't have a Homicide Review Commission, you need to start one as soon as you can. With the information that's being shared and the importance of it, you cannot benefit without a commission like this.
Okay, 2042 North 41. This is District 3, but I'm gonna start off by telling you, so we don't go on and on about this. This is not a homicide actually related to this house or related to this neighborhood. It is more of a case of District 5 than it is District 3, okay? And what happens here is Ken is our victim. He used to live in the area of 12th and Burleigh. He takes his girlfriend and he sleeps over at Grandma's house here at this address. And when they leave for the morning, a car pulls up, gunman comes out, shoots them both down. Girlfriend falls right away and hides behind a parked car. Ken runs through the alley. Suspects take the car, go around the alley, find Ken, and finish him off. What happens is, a while back, on 12th and Burleigh, in that park there, and I forget the name, right on Columbia, I don't remember.
Columbia Park?
Is it? Maybe, let's go with that. A long time ago, there's an altercation regarding a pedal bike. And Ken gets into it with the suspects here. Back in the day, Dwayne Cannon, Little Chris, and Carlos Thomas, mostly Little Chris, his Christopher Davis. He lives currently at 2901 West Locust, but he's from the 12th and Burleigh neighborhood. Get into it with Ken. And now they have these issues back and forth throughout the years. And last summer, Ken shot up their house over in that neighborhood off of 12th and Burleigh. So this morning, they posse up. Little Chris picks up his guys, and they must have known, although they don't admit this, that Ken was going to come out of Grandma's house. And when he does, they gun him down.
So is this really a District 3 or District 5
It's honestly, it should be a District 5 conversation. This is one of those instances like we have often when we talk about District 3 over 18th and 17th and North in the Ghost Town area, about how even though they move out, they always come back. So even though this stuff occurred on 12th and Burleigh a long time ago and should have been since well forgotten by normal people, they can't let it go. And it's just a constant shoot 'em up thing between the two groups until it ends this way. But honestly, it was, in this case, it was the fact that Ken was at Grandma's house, who happened to live in District 3. Looking at their addresses, most of them still live in District 5.
Okay, so Will, you want to start?
All right, I know this house wasn't involved, but where it happened, 2402, is where that's Ken's grandma. And it's owner occupied. The owners live in the upper. The tenants that live in the lower, which is Ken's grandparents, I assume, have been living there 6 years. It's a very unstable family, according to the landlord. At this time, it's not a nuisance property. It's only had 4 CAD calls in the past 90 days. And the owners are planning to evict them. There was one drug complaint open during the time of the shooting, which has since been closed. One, I guess, recent thing that happened there is back in 2012. There was an SA, but the suspect and victims were not involved. It's just a family thing. We do have in that area, it's we have a burn grant going on, but that particular block, and I think it's like 2 blocks out of the area. So this particular block doesn't cover this grant.
All right, anything else, Will?
That is it.
Anybody from District 5? Do you guys know any of these players?
3048 North Wall Street. If I remember this right, we were sent to go out there to look for two of the individuals who lived at that address at the time. And when we were looking that up, in fact, my partner here, it was about a year and a half ago, they had CI information that they did a foot chase, and they ended up in the backyard of that house, and underneath the back porch, they recovered it was 2 pistols and a AK-47 rifle in a bed sheet. So those 2 subjects, I believe it was Kenneth Jackson was the one who did flee from that scene. There was about 4 guys in the backyard of that house. So I remember looking at that report. And also 3048 North 12th Street. I believe it was the day after we were looking at that house when we stopped, Lieutenant Aguilino called to tell us to go and look for these subjects. The very next day, there was shots fired into that residence, which NTF, Officer Mike Martin and Gadzelinski caught the kid running from that scene with the 380 still on him.
Okay, anybody else from District 5? Do we know, before we get to the other stuff, do we know, so people knew about this feud over the bike?
People knew that there was an ongoing feud between Lil Chris and Ken Ken.
Over a bike?
The over the bike stuff came as we started talking to people, and it stemmed back years ago. A lot of people said, I don't know what the problem is, but they knew that they were at odds, those 2.
And it didn't have anything to do with drugs, or it was over a bike?
Years ago, I believe it was Ken Ken was trying to drive past them at that park on 13th and Columbia, and they blocked his way. Lil Chris blocked his way on purpose. And then, since then, they have not liked each other. I believe that's how it went.
Seeing that there was a drug arrest made, was that from this homicide? It was that same, the IR number was pulled from the 1st of February. And it may have been the night, during the night.
Yeah.
What?
That had nothing to do. What happens is they do the homicide in the morning, and then they get stopped, and I think it's in District 5.
It was District 5.
District 5 arrests them that night.
Yep.
For a traffic stop and with drugs in the car. And it had nothing to do with us. At that point, we didn't even know they were suspects.
Okay. Yeah, I seen that in there, and I think it was, it may have been Dwayne Cannon and Chris Davis.
It was.
Together.
That's how we put them 2 together. And then we went back in our mess reports and found out that they were always with the 3rd guy. Because we knew there were 3 suspects.
Yeah,
I can
seen
imagine that they were in custody for their little bag of weed, just sick to their stomachs, thinking we had them for the homicide, but no one knew.
Yeah, I seen that in there, and then it didn't make sense on how. And I figured I didn't want to mention it because I didn't know if the rest of the reports were in the homicide file.
No, we had no idea then.
Okay.
Okay, what about, Jake, do you have anything on these guys?
I don't, Chris isn't here, I think, Will covered the police reports pretty well. But no, I didn't, I can look into some of that stuff, I mean, I'm familiar with the area, obviously it's an area that's been challenged for a long time. But I'm not specifically familiar with these guys.
Okay, I don't know who from DOC, Chris, did you check these? Nothing? Julie, do you have anything?
Just looking at, I can't, just for the group's sake, I can't report on anybody that's discharged. Looking at the cases that were turned over to juvenile authorities, if anybody had a history, the only one would probably be Kenneth Jackson, just and based on the age, because I've been from the 2008 cases. So Dwayne Cannon is the other one with the juvenile authorities, and he was a non-criminal, so that would have been turned over to the county.
Oh, thanks for reminding me though, that's when we will be, someone will be coming.
My name is Jacob Corr with the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office. I am the team captain of the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office Community Prosecution Unit. The mission of the office, the traditional mission, is representing the state of Wisconsin in all the criminal matters that occur in Milwaukee County. In addition to that, I supervise a team of prosecutors that work out of a police district. So my mission, in addition to that, is dealing with more of the quality of life issues within the geographic areas that we cover. Since the inception of the Homicide Review Commission in 2005, our agency has been very active, I think, in every aspect of the Homicide Review Commission. We have participated in the main reviews, the shooting reviews, the domestic violence reviews, the work groups. We are represented on the executive committee both by John Chisholm, who is the elected district attorney, as well as many of the supervisors in the office attend that as well. I think the Homicide Review has really been a benefit to the Milwaukee County criminal justice system. It started off in 2005 where the main benefit was simply opening up lines of communication, really developing relationships with a number of different agencies who are represented at the reviews, getting to know people so that we could share information a bit more regularly. What we realized early on is that we did do a pretty poor job of sharing information, and I think that as we worked through the reviews, we developed systems, both data systems and just human systems, to share this information. And I think as we've moved through it over the last number of years, those systems have grown and become much more collaborative. I think that our unit, the Community Prosecution Unit, specifically has been in charge of implementing a lot of the different recommendations and the different things that we've learned from the Homicide Review Commission. Something as simple as a name of an individual who may be involved in future violence or a geographic location that has been involved in violence, we will take back to the district and interact with that problem and hopefully prevent the violence that may occur. So I think that that has been very helpful to us generally. I think specifically we've noticed a lot of different things where, for example, different parts of information, DNA shooting reports where at one point were lost in kind of the netherworld have been found, and a system has been set up so that those DNA reports, instead of going to an unknown location, now go back to the investigating officer and to the district attorney. So there have been a lot of very practical changes and advancements based on those reviews. I think that when you look at the Homicide Review, at its cornerstone is a collaboration, and I think that it is a very valuable collaboration. We have benefited in our community at the onset of developing these relationships through the Homicide Review process, but I think that more than that, it has transferred into a number of smaller reviews when we talk about shooting reviews, and I think it's applicable to any type of criminal offense. If you were to look at armed robbery crews, depending on what the jurisdiction's issues are, getting the right people in the room, sharing information, and coming up with a solution is an excellent tool to utilize. So I think that the relationships that have developed out of the Homicide Review really have led to a lot of other innovation and development.
And action!